She's been through storms, she's walked through fire. Still moves with strength, not loud but higher. No spotlight needed, no grand applause. She stands for truth, she knows her cause. And she's not perfect, but she's real and sure. A woman of virtue who will endure.
Hey, y'all. Hey, welcome to the Love Ladies of Virtue Endure podcast. As you can see, we are set up a little bit different, and I am so super excited. So, I got my girls, my co hosts, Lorraine and Crystal, on the show as usual. But we also have a special guest, as you can see, Miss Enid Erica, and we are going to be having a real conversation, right? So, buckle your seat. This conversation is about personal conviction, psychological insight, and the spiritual discernment, not condemnation. Our overall goal is understanding, healing, and clarity. So we're going to be talking about breaking vows to keep your values, right? Why I walked away from what you asked. A sorority, right? Or fraternity, whichever you're in. Obviously, we're going to be talking about sororities a little bit here because that's what we know about, or at least that's what Enid knows about. So we're going to add her to the main screen and we're just going to dive in and ask some questions. All right, let's go. All right. So my first question, Enid, is what initially drew you to the sorority? Was it something emotionally, spiritually, or socially?
I would say probably more emotionally and socially. Growing up, it was just my brother and I. And I always like wanted a sister. I always wanted to, have somebody that I could identify with and do things with. And it's just me and him, so I never had that. Uh, and I really didn't know what sororities were in high school. Now, I sit back and look and like it's very exposed in high school, and they kind of are groomed in high school, and we can talk about that later. But it wasn't like it is now. I had a counselor that was an AKA, and I had a friend's mom who was a Delta, and I never was, there's the whole stereotypes behind AKAs and Deltas and Sigma Gamma Rho's and such. Um, but I never really had a good relationship with my counselor in high school. But my friend's mom, who was a Delta, would pick me up from basketball practice, take me to meet my mom when she had to work late and couldn't come get me on time. So I was always exposed to her demeanor, her behavior, and just how she was, and I was always intrigued by that. So once I got in college, got ready to go to college, and I began to put the two together, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's what I want to do. And there was something she spoke over me. We have to be careful with those type things. There was something that she spoke over me that we could talk about later too, uh, about what sparked that interest and connection to begin with.
Okay. Okay. Let me back up before Crystal jumps in because I know she has a question too, and I know Lorraine has some questions. I apologize to you and our audience. I didn't give you an opportunity to just kind of introduce yourself, tell us what sorority you were in or anything. I'm excited, so I know you, so I just jumped in, but they don't know you. So go
Yeah,
ahead and you could do a quick little introduction and tell us even what sorority you were in, if you don't mind,
yeah.
things of that nature.
Okay. Uh, for your audience, I'm Enid. I went to Valdosta State University, and I pledged Delta Sigma Theta, the Theta Tau chapter, in spring '01.
Okay, got it. Thank
Mhm.
you. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Enid, I have a question for you. So,
Mhm.
looking back, what messages were subtly kind of reinforced about worth and success or identity?
Okay, so like I said, my friend's mom in high school was a Delta, and I again because it wasn't exposed like it then, like it is now to high school students. At least where I went to high school, I know in smaller towns they have like the Delta gents for the boys, Kappa gyms, and all that those kind of things. We didn't have that at our high school, so I wasn't really exposed to it only through her. And because of how nice she was, because of how giving she was, um, and when I was saying earlier that she spoke a word over me, I asked her one day. I didn't know that she was a Delta until one day I got out of her car to get in my mom's car, and she had a Delta tag on the front of her car. And I was like, Miss Scott, what is that? And she was like, you don't worry about all that. You just may be one day.
Mhm.
And that it like sparked an interest in me. So I began to research. By this time I was like a junior, getting ready to go into my senior year once that school year was over. So I began to like research like what it was, the letters were, what it meant. And I ran across different videos of them stepping, them different doing community service, and I was like, this is cool. And saw the girls together, and I was like, this is like having a bunch of sisters. And so from that point, I just began to research. And then when I got to college and saw them on campus and saw them stepping, that's where the worth and the prestige and stuff like that came in, because it was like they were real well respected. Everybody knew them. Everybody was talking about how cool they were, and I was just like, man, like, yeah, this is it. So I think it the worth, excuse me, part came in once I got to college and saw it firsthand, like what it was like.
Okay. Yeah. Were there moments where I know that you joined, but we're talking about you walking away from it. Were there moments where questioning felt discouraged or minimized after you had started to get into that process of understanding it, or after you were in it?
um no, because when I walked away, it wasn't popular. Like right now, right in this moment, you see a lot of videos. It's like a thing now. um when I walked away, it was like 2018, 2019. And so it wasn't popular like that. So when I did, or when I was having thoughts about it, um I think I was more, it was a fight spiritually, so I didn't talk about it. So as far as like it being um you know where I was afraid to ask questions, I guess you could say that, because um I didn't want anybody to know it was something I was struggling with spiritually within myself. Now, I know we're going to get into this later, because as we continue to talk about it, I'm sure it'll come up. But there was a time when I was going through the actual process that maybe this question would probably apply to, but I didn't ask any questions because I wanted to do it so bad. But there were times through the process of taking the oaths and going through the actual ritual where I was like, am I supposed to be saying this? Like, as a quote unquote Christian, I was like, I don't know, but I didn't ask questions because I wanted to do it so bad. But when I was going through the process of denouncing, um I I didn't ask questions. Everything that I wanted to know or find out, I was praying and asking God to reveal to me. So I guess you could say, yeah, it was kind of a fear or hesitancy, but I didn't I didn't talk about it to people.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Enid, within the sorority, how were loyalty and silence framed?
Oh man, it's crazy because if you watched any of the denouncing videos, you'll hear this talk about a lot. There is two sides of pledging. There is above ground and underground. And it's crazy because both sides have that. The above ground process, which is the national process, they'll tell you, I don't remember the exact wording because it's been a long time. And once I denounced, I burned my rituals and all of that. So I don't remember the exact wording. And plus, it's changed since then. But it was something along the lines of the national process in the rituals when you're going through the actual national process. They have you say something. The people that are reading the uh, response and statements and responses say something along the lines of uh, what you're about to partake in. And of course these are not the exact words, but it's along the lines of uh, this is you're sworn to secrecy. Nobody should know about the vows that you're about to partake in. Something to that effect. But the underground process, I think, is more pressure. Like they say that because that's what's in the ritual for the national process. But the underground process, um, it is, I think, like drilled in your head so much because of the paddling, because of the pledging, because it's illegal. So if you're caught, like just like the movies and the denouncement, I don't know if you guys have seen Burning Sands on Netflix, but the when they're going through the Hell Night process, the one of the profiles tells them, if something happened, we drop you off at the hospital. You don't know us. Don't say nothing. It's like that for real.
Mm.
So it is like, yeah, you don't talk about it. Mhm.
Ooh, that's a lot. So when did you first sense? I know that you said that you denounced in 2018-19 timeframe, but when did you first sense that there was a conflict between God's word and your involvement in the sorority?
Shoot, when I was going through the process, and that's what I was referring to earlier. So like, there's a part where and again, like the actual step by step process is fuzzy to me now because I was so grieved once, and we'll get into all of this. Once I found out, or God revealed to me, how it was totally against Him and His word, and how can you say you're a believer or a follower of His and be a part of this? I was so grieved by what I had committed to, what I had said oaths to, that I like, how when you are part of something and you realize like the gravity of it, you kind of want to forget it. It's kind of like that. So I don't remember the exact um frame by frame time frame that these things happen, but there's this 9-day jewel process that you go through, and you do different things for different days, and it's supposed to be along the lines of Second Corinthians. We'll get into that too in a minute. But it is it's demonic. It is a take on Second Corinthians, the love chapter. And they have you do these things, these 9 jewels. They're compassion, long suffering, all of this that they make and shape into Delta. But it was going through that process, and at the end of it, that's when you go through the final process. They make you wear white. You kneel to an altar. The lights are off. Candles are lit, and they make you repeat after them to say these things. And one of the things, and like I said, it's been so long I don't remember everything, but this part has always stuck with me because I will never forget, as I sat there kneeling on that pillow in that all white with candles lit, and it said, you are about to take vows that you can never leave or deviate from, or something along those lines, that you will take to your final death.
Mm.
And when it even makes chills go through me now, I was like, I kind of did this number.
What
But
am I doing?
Right.
exactly,
But I'm gonna
exactly,
do it anyway.
exactly. Yes,
Lord help us,
exactly.
God.
But that stuck with me. Like I said, to this day, I don't remember nothing else in that ritual, like kind of verbatim, but that, because I was like, wait, what? And so in that moment, even though I was not saved, the Holy Spirit conviction of me growing up and knowing God's word pricked my heart. But because I was not saved and because I was doing what I wanted to do, and it's wild to me because I can remember when I was trying to get ready to go through the process and I went to the rush and I was like praying like, Lord, I really want to be a Delta. And if you're gonna help me get to this process, show me a sign. I'll never forget this either. Show me a sign. And when I got up from praying, I got ready for bed. I was putting on a t-shirt, and the t-shirt was not a Delta t-shirt, but the company Delta was inside
That
the
was your
shirt.
sign.
You're right, exactly.
Thank you,
But
Lord. Thank you. He heard
but
my prayer.
right, but when I said that, like I said, that pricked my heart. But I kept going through it, and like I just dismissed it. But then when God began to bring me out, like so much stuff that I look back and there are many uh denouncement videos that like go in depth of people that recently pledged like in the not early 2000s but mid 2000s, that they have the current ritual that they go through and like line for line they go. And when I watched some of those and was like, this is so demonic, and that's the part that had me grieve. But when I first recognized was in that moment on my knees in that all white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, I mean, you just gave us a lot there. And I mean, I was gonna ask, what were there any specific rituals, vows, or values that felt misaligned with your faith? You shared a lot
Yeah.
just now.
But it's so much more. Like for instance, like I said, the Corinthians love chapter. Each one of those jewel days takes a part of those verses, like I said, the compassion, the long suffering, all of those things, and converts it like to something about Delta. It is mind blowing. And let's
Yeah.
not even that. Let's not even get into the Egyptian worship and the Greek god worship, because when you cross the burning sands, this is all about how it was back in the Egyptian times, and the hot desert sand, and it relates back to that, and the pyramids. Like when you see the deltas throw up the pyramid, like all of y'all, all of this stuff, it is, yeah,
Yeah.
it is very, very demonic.
Okay. I'm gonna bring Lorraine in. Lorraine, what you got? Because Lorraine is
Well,
like,
no,
yeah,
I'm
no,
really
what's going
intrigued.
on?
I'm listening and I'm like
Yeah,
intrigued. So,
I know.
but back to like the Delta tag as a confirmation of you being there, was there something that, um, did you ever try to justify spiritually staying in the sorority? Like you want to get out, but that Delta tag was like God's sign. Was there something spiritually for you that you were trying to say, I need to stay?
Initially, no. Well, initially, like the only thing that I tried to justify before, and it wasn't even about getting out. It was just, you know, the things that weren't of God, I tried to justify and say, well, because they say this all the time. Oh, Delta Sigma Theta is a sorority based on Christian principles. So, I used to try to justify the bad things that were going on, the hazing and all that kind of stuff with that. But when I got ready to get out, God had dealt with me about that thing so bad I couldn't. Even before I knew about about like the stuff that I know now from watching other people's videos, and even before, because once I denounced, I had or right before I was getting ready to denounce and it was talking about it. Somehow I don't even remember how I met her, but I ended up running across a girl on Facebook, and she started the organization. She's done some podcasts too. Her name is India, and she started the Out From Among Them ministries. And so a lot of the things that I found out about why God was dealing with me about, I found out from her pulling from the ritual. For me, I just knew God was like, this ain't it. This is not of me. And when one of the things that was like unprecedented for me, like I said, I didn't say anything to anybody, but the night that I decided, okay, this is it, I'm done. Like I need to find all the stuff and burn it. The night that I decided that, I lie to y'all not, I went to bed. We were in Sicily at the time. I went to bed and it was on my mind so heavy I couldn't hardly sleep. But when I finally went to sleep, I woke up the next morning and I promise you, it felt like I was wrestling. I woke up sore, like completely drained, like I hadn't had no sleep. And I felt like I had been fighting in the spirit. So when that happened, I knew that was nothing but the enemy. And I knew in that moment, like, okay, I gotta be obedient because clearly the devil is trying to keep me bound.
Right.
So that was before I knew like all the reasons why.
Ooh,
Okay.
yeah, he was fighting. He was fighting for your life, literally.
Mhm.
Right.
Yes. Hmm.
You ain't going nowhere. My
Yep.
goodness, my gracious.
Yep.
Whew,
Mm.
Mm-mm.
okay. Ooh, so good. I have some questions written down, but I have so many things going through my mind right now, which I'm sure
It's a
the
lot.
other
It's
ladies.
a lot, and it is heavy. It is heavy because as y'all continue to ask questions, I know we'll get into this too. But after that night that happened, I that next day I went on Facebook and I made that post. And y'all, I also think that God allowed it to happen in my sleep too, to mentally prepare me for what was about to happen. Because the fallout after that.
Hmm.
Well, let's just go ahead and get into. Okay, ladies, we going a little bit off script. Let's get into
Okay.
it. What was the fallout? Because okay, sometimes you prepare things, right? And God leads
Mhm.
you a different way. So that's what we're gonna
Mhm.
do today. I hope that you ladies are okay, right?
I'm okay with it because
Absolutely.
I had some
Okay.
questions off script. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's fine. Let's do it. What was the fallout? Let's talk about that.
So when I
Yeah, like
posted the thing on Facebook, my phone was blowing up. I mean blowing up from Facebook Messenger. People was cussing me out, Q's and Deltas, cussing me out. Why you had to get online saying all of that, revealing all of that, this, that, and the third. Like they were going ham on me. So on top of me not really getting no sleep and being sore like I was mentally and emotionally bombarded. And there was a WhatsApp group with all of the pro fights, all of my ex line sisters, of course. They were the girls I pledged with. That's what line sisters mean. Um, and some of the neophytes, the girls that we had pledged after that. And they had deleted me from the WhatsApp group like immediately, which I could care less. But one of the girls that I pledged with messaged me privately and was like, what is going on? They calling you all kind of B's and H's. Like what? Like talk to me. Why didn't you say something to us first to prepare us? I said, Karis, God did not lead me to do that. And like seeing the aftermath, I understand why. Because had I messaged y'all and told y'all, hey, I'm thinking about this, I'm doing this, it would have been y'all trying to talk me out of it. And she did not deny that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I said, so I knew what God was telling me, and I answered to him, not y'all.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Amen.
And so she was like, well, I understand that. She was like, everybody's just upset because they can't believe that you said some of the stuff you said in the video. I said, that's between them and God. I I can't help. And I kind of had apathetic, like, I don't care attitude, because like we talk, what are we talking about? We a whole sorority, like that's not life or death. And y'all mad cussing me out about that?
Mhm.
Like that's crazy. And it's my life. Like, how are you mad about my life? So yeah, it was,
Mm,
yeah, it
it's a
was
lot.
brutal.
So
It
you're
was
only a
brutal.
sister as long as you're doing what they say or what they desire you to do. Because this sisterhood that you had created and
Facts.
formed and that was all about Enid and we rock with you and things of that nature. Once you said,
Hmm.
I am no longer going to be a part of this sisterhood, now it's you all types
Hmm.
of B's and H's and all this
Right.
other stuff. You're no longer a
For
sister.
the majority, I have
Yeah.
had two. I've had two that uh like still raw with me. And one of them was my ex line sister. Well, I still call her sister because she's is constantly checking on me. That's the one that messaged me, that privately messaged me. I was like, "What is going on?" And then the other one I met when we were in Naples. She worked with Anthony, and I met her because she pledged at Mercer, and when I was active and still in college, I was going. We would go to all these different schools and meet different sorors, meet different bros, and so her profile was like, "Hey, it's a soror over there. Look for her." And so I met her that way. And both of them said the same thing. I don't care whether you were Delta or not. Delta was just the tool that brought us together.
Yeah.
We love you regardless. They don't know each other, but they both said the same thing, like we love you
Yeah.
regardless. And they have like kept up with us, constantly checking on us, constantly, sending not postcards, but like the little holiday cards and stuff like that. But those are the only two I talked to. And in fact, this is crazy too. I had one ex line sister who I don't know if I told y'all about this, Tanya and Crystal, but when we were in Japan, my mama was diagnosed with leukemia and lymphoma. November of 2013, and it was stage 3, so they didn't know whether or not she was gonna live. And I was trying to get home. I wasn't working in Japan, and I was just a total wreck. At that time, of course, I was still in the sorority, and so that the my ex line sisters um, rallied together and sent me money to get a plane ticket to go home to be with my mom. So that was in 2013 when I denounced it. Mind you, years had gone by, and being a spouse, I was working sometimes, wasn't working sometimes. So they were like, just give us the money back when you can. Years go by, I done forgot about it because I didn't get into Dodea until we got to Sicily. And by this time, I'm in Dodea, but I'm still trying to get my feet under myself. So I was not making the money that I make now. So one of my ex line sisters sent me a message on Facebook because I was kicked out of the group. She sent me a message on Facebook and said, "Since you ain't my sister no more, how about you send me that money you owe me?" Yes,
Years later.
yes,
Of
all
course.
them years later. And I messaged her back. I laughed. I said, "You know what? this is funny. I said, I don't have a problem paying you back. To be honest, I forgot about it because of all that has gone on. I said, but I would have paid you your money back, but you didn't have to ask like that. But since, you know what? Since you said that, here you go. And I sent her $500 immediately.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Yes, that part. Whew.
But like this is the sisterhood
Uh,
supposedly.
yeah.
But those two that I mentioned, like I said, like God has been really dealing with me too, and I haven't done it yet, and I just been saying help, praying that the Lord give me how to approach it, because now that I know more about why God had me to denounce, like I want them to understand it, because when I did, the two that I mentioned, they still like, their thought process is, well, God deal with everybody different. That's true, he does, but this is not a Christian liberties thing. Some people try to say that. Some people that are still in sororities and fraternities try to say, well, that's a Christian liberties thing. God gives certain people liberty to do some things, and some no, that's not what this is. It's not. Because the very first commandment that God gave was, thou shalt have no other God before me. And they'll tell you, oh, well, we don't worship a God. We didn't kneel before God. If you went through the national process, not even the underground process, that's demonic too. But if you did the national process and you signed your name on that paperwork, yes, you did. Yes, you did. Because every single one of them I have listened to. It's a girl out there. She denounced Delta, and I think she has a big podcast series on denouncing. It's two of them, Lala Jenkins and Melissa Blair, I think.
Hmm.
But Melissa Blair is real good friends with a Kappa, and she has been trying to get them to, like, she exposed the whole Delta ritual, like word for
Yeah,
word.
I saw it.
uh but she also exposed the Kappa one. And when she was going through the Kappa one, I was like, all of this stuff sounds so familiar. So every last one of them, I don't care what they say, every last one of them have knelt before a shrine, altar, and the Kappas call it a shrine. But they have knelt before an altar, and it is, every single one of them has a Greek god that is attached to it. And regardless of how you look at it, there, that Greek god is intertwined all kind of ways in their ritual, in their oaths, in their prayers. The Delta prayer has Minerva in it.
Hmm.
How are you saying a prayer and it's to the Greek god of chaos and destruction?
Yep.
Wow.
I'm telling you, it's wild.
So can I ask you, so since you, well, while you were in there, because of the demonic attachment, do
Hmm.
you feel, or can you look back and see any of like Satan's influences on your life? Can
Yes,
you talk about that?
very much so. Okay, so y'all know, I'm sure you know that there's like stepping and strolling uh involved in sororities. We would have parties. Well, let me back up past before that. Every fraternity and sorority has a drink. And when I tell you, the drinks are loaded with alcohol. Not to, oh, this feel, no, get you drunk. Let's start with that, because once you got that in you, and you drinking the and listen to the, okay. So some of the, even the drink names are demonic. The AKA's drink is the pink panty pull down. Ours was dang, what was elephant something? It was elephant something. I don't remember. Red Alert was the other. We had two different names: Red Alert and Elephant something. And the Omegas was the Omega oil. The Kappas was the Nuke juice. The Alphas was the Gorilla spit.
Okay.
So like you're drinking this at parties, and we already know how alcohol and emotions go. So there were many times I'll never forget. One time we were at the Q's house, and we always I was dating a Q at the time, and I'm gonna get into that later too. But I was dating a Q at the time, and we always were like, I was always at it with some female about him, and we were at the Q house. He had just like got his car freshly painted. He had a box Chevy with rims and beat in it, and he had just got it painted. So this girl from the city, we used to call them city girls and city dudes. This girl from the city is at the frat house sitting on his car. And so he is like, because it's a female, he is like, struggling with, well, should I say something? Should I not? And so me, drunk and already defensive, I get to arguing with the girl. My ex line sister, who was like 4'5", if that, she was the ace of our line, was on the grill with the fork flipping the chicken because Q's beer and chicken. She was on the grill with the fork flipping the chicken, and she hears me arguing with this girl. She comes over to the car and was like, you better do what my line sister said before I stab you with this fork.
Oh gosh.
So they get to arguing, and she stabs the girl with the fork.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
So it's like constantly things like this. So after that incident, like we were constantly fighting in the club. Somebody, that's why I brought up the strolls. You strolling in the club. The AKAs had a notorious issue because they liked the bros, and of course we were supposed to be sisters with the bros. So they would, when we would be hopping or strolling with the bros, they would always try to come in the middle of it. So that always caused arguments, and we were just always fighting. And I'll
So
never forget.
can I ask you? So did you say you made vows to the god of chaos, the goddess of
Hmm.
chaos? So
Facts.
that's where this
Minerva.
from. Yeah.
Minerva.
Okay.
hmm
Okay.
And see, that's another thing too. When you're going through this process, they never mention that Minerva is the Greek god of chaos and destruction. You know what they tell you? Oh, she's the goddess of wisdom. That's what's at the top of the Delta shield that
Oh
you're
wow.
constantly wearing over your heart. hmm
Wow.
Chaos, huh?
Yes.
Your heart.
Wow.
Yes. So um they're constantly like coming into the store. So we were constantly fighting. And it was funny back then, and we thought it was cute back then. One of the alphas told us, man, y'all crazy. DST don't stand for Delta Sigma Theta. DST stand for them some thugs. And we thought that was so funny and so cute. But looking back on it now, I'm like, jeez, what was
Mm,
I thinking? I was not even raised like this.
right. Wow.
So yeah, it was a lot of, and that's just a small portion. Like even the pledge process, there was like very demonic satanic things, the hazing, like all of that is yeah.
So while you were doing that, like, you know how you said your first time you were like, what is this? Like, what should I? Did you notice anybody else kind of feeling that way, or like
No.
didn't? Okay.
Mm-mm. Unfortunately, no. No, I didn't. um and it's so crazy because all of them profess to be Christians. Like it'll say, it says in our ritual, like this is a Christian organization, not these exact words, but along these lines, this is a Christian organization, but we leave up to the individual how they want to manifest
Mhm.
that. That yes, but all of them profess to be Christians. Oh, and get up or go to church on Sunday after clubbing all night Saturday.
Yeah.
But nope. Mm-mm. And I mean, I was doing those things too, but I did have a level of conviction because of being raised in a Pentecostal church, which is why when we knelt down in that all white and said that, I felt weird about the all white because growing up Pentecostal, that was always looked at as purity, you know.
Right.
And
That's
so,
what you wear on communion day.
right,
Right. Before
exactly,
you get baptized. Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
So,
Take you to the
like,
water.
Mhm.
like that bothered me. But when I looked around, like nobody else seemed to have an issue with
Nobody
that.
seemed to have an issue. Hmm.
Hmm.
It's crazy.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
That's a lot.
That is a
Crystal,
lot.
you have any questions?
Yeah.
You have a
So
question?
yes, yes, I do. When people hear the word denounce,
Hmm.
well, first of all, what does denouncing mean to you spiritually?
So there's two different terms. There's denounce and renounce.
Okay.
When you denounce, that is the actual part of sending your letter to say, hey, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. Please take my name off of the roll.
Hmm.
And that's just like when you, it's really absolutely like a marriage. And when people say that, they're like, nah. But if you read the oaths and what you are binding yourself to, because that's what an oath
Wow.
does, it's like a marriage. So in order for you, people don't understand, like there are people that have said, oh, I don't want to be the part of this anymore, but I don't have to send no letter. Yes, you do. Because you are asking whatever is loosed on earth is loosed in heaven. So if
Mhm.
you don't ask to be detached from that organization and have your name taken off of their role, technically and spiritually, you are still attached.
Mhm.
That's just like if you don't get a divorce and
Right.
get that legal document, you
Mhm.
still married.
What's happening,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. So when people hear the word denounce, what do you hope they understand? And what do you hope they don't assume?
So when I first denounced, before I'm gonna get to that, but so that's the denounce part. Renouncing, and
Okay.
it behooves you to do both, and here's why. When you cross the burning sands, you have a probate show or a coming out show. You telling everybody, I am this. And I'll never forget. You can now call me Showtime because that was my line name. So you got a new identity. They done gave you a line number, and you proud about it. You got it on all the jackets, all the purses, all the bags. You want everybody to know. So when you denounce, you are asking them to officially remove your name from the role that they have at national headquarters. When you renounce, you are then telling the world, I I am being spiritually loosed from what the devil had me bound to. The demonic oaths, the demonic prayers, the demonic bondage that the enemy had me in, bound to people. That's another thing too that people don't realize. Like, uh, yeah, all of my ex-line sisters profess to be Christians, but now one of them done gone off into, she kind of slick is into witchcraft. She goes and gets her palm read and all of this stuff. She's still a Delta. So you linking up because you literally link up with, like,
Hmm. Yeah.
in lines. You
Hmm.
put your hands up under their arms and have them like this, and theirs are up under yours. So you are literally linked to. So you're binding and linking to people who don't even have Christ at the center of their
Wow.
life.
Right.
So when you renounce, you're then exposing the enemy's lies. You're then exposing him for what he truly is.
Okay.
And a lot of people are not aware of the demonic strongholds and witchcraft that are attached to fraternities and sororities.
Right.
Yeah.
Before you answer the other part of that question, the part that's interesting to me, when you say the linking and the binding, it's like a marriage to a bunch of people.
Yes. Hmm. Facts.
It's like an oath and a marriage and a covenant with a bunch of people, and so that
Facts.
means you take on all the things
Facts.
that they carry.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's deep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's
Mhm.
deep.
Absolutely.
Um, so when we talk about the word denounce, what do you hope that people don't assume about?
So when I denounced, a lot of people were like, "Oh, you just don't want to pay the money to be financial." That's a lie. Because let me roll back that for you. There was a point in time when we got in trouble for hazing, and we were fined $1,000. I paid that fine and my dues to get back active. So it don't have nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with my soul.
Mhm.
So I like the biggest thing is, and this is the part that I struggle with now because it's a lot of Greeks here in Vicenza. And I'm surrounded by them at work, in the community. And God, like I said, God has really been dealing with me about telling them and explaining to them about me denouncing. And I haven't done it. And I just have been praying and asking God to help me with that and get to the point where I can willingly share and explain. But I don't want people to know that I don't want to think that it's a cop out or like I said, now it's popular. Uh, it's not something I did because it wasn't popular at the time. Nobody was really doing it at that time. It was starting off, but it was nowhere like it is now. Um, the biggest thing that I want them to know and understand is that if you're not a believer, this is why you need to become a believer, because Jesus is real. And when you bind and attach yourself to him, no matter what you go through, no matter what you face, and in this afterlife, he will always be there and you will be with him. But when you remain attached to these demonic organizations that are rooted in pagan worship and are doing witchcraft, then you leave your afterlife up to spending eternity in hell. So whether you believe heaven or hell is real, I would rather be on the side of, well, at least if it ain't, I'm here, than
Yeah.
to be like, oh well, it ain't real, so I don't believe it, so I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. I want them to understand that, um, leaving your eternity and even your life. There are people that have given the announcement and renouncement testimonies about how they've had diseases, cancer, and things like that that were brought on by the witchcraft and demonic strongholds that they were part of in their organization. And you can't be freed from that unless you give those things to the Lord, and unless you separate yourself from the organization. So the biggest thing is, if you're a believer though, and you know that Jesus is real, and you know that there's a heaven and hell, it behooves you to do your research, to dig through your ritual, and then put that up against the word of God so that you know what you're attached to and get out.
Yeah.
That's like the biggest thing.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
in that, because you have a lot of celebrities, a lot of people of influence
Yep.
that are associated with the sororities and fraternities,
Mhm.
what do you feel is the biggest stronghold for them not to want to get out?
Um, Pride. A large part of it is pride. Like if you look at the Jamal Bryant's, um, the William Murphy's, and the crazy part about it for me with William Murphy is like you're like in your 40s and 50s.
Yeah, he just did it like last year or year before, something like that.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Uh and you're a whole pastor. Like none of the Omega, and I know like some of the stuff the Omegas do, I know because I was there. It is like ooh, extremely, extremely demonic. And as a pastor, none of that convicted you. But I think a large part of it has to do with pride. I think the other part of that is Christian people being a part of these organizations and saying it's okay.
Right.
That to me, to be honest, that is a huge hindrance
Right.
Mhm.
because people who aren't really digging into the word for themselves are
Mhm.
believing that, or Christians who have just come to the Lord that are part of these organizations are under these pastors that are saying it's okay.
Right.
I think that's a large part of it. Ultimately, as a believer, you have to know the word of God for yourself. And
Mhm.
I saw a thing where Lecrae did a podcast about this, and he was trying to justify it, and he was one of the ones that said, "Oh, I didn't kneel before no Greek god." Mm, according to the Kappa ritual, yes, you and y'all they talk about a Delphic shrine. Delphi is a place in Greek that actually has this Delphic shrine that they talk about in their ritual that is built specifically for the god Apollo. And they talk about kneeling before this Delphic shrine. If you did the national process for Kappa, you absolutely knelt before a Greek god. But I will say too that I have seen recent things from him where he is kind of questioning it, and he is trying to figure it out for himself. The other part, like I think for those of us who grew up in a holiness of Pentecostal church, it is a little easier for us because we recognize the things that are demonic that we're kind of like, I don't know about that. But for I will say for him, like he says all the time that he wasn't raised in church, so he's trying to figure it out.
Right.
So I do think like that's the biggest hindrance is those pastors out there that are leaders, church leaders out there that are part of these organizations and that are saying that it's okay.
Yeah, that's
Thank
good.
you.
Awesome, awesome. So we are getting ready to wrap up this session. I don't want to, but we are going to because we want to be mindful of all of our viewers and their time and things like that. But I'm going to ask a final question and then give you just some space to say anything that you feel you want to say, and then I'll close us out. So, what would you say to somebody that's currently inside a sorority that is feeling conflicted, and or if your story could help one person, what would you hope it gives them permission to do? So, however you want to answer that, what would you say to someone that hears this that's like, I'm kind of on the fence?
Oh, okay. So I'll give you an example. The biggest thing is I'll speak to those who have came out who are silent, who aren't saying anything. I think that it is so important for people to know and see. And I say that even talking to my own self in regards to the things that I'm conflicted in right now. Um, it's so important for you to share your testimony because you never know who is on that ledge and God is dealing with it about it and who he will place that testimony in their path for them to hear. So I give you an example. There was a young lady who went to Valdosta with me, and she didn't pledge in Valdosta. She ended up pledging a grad chapter, I think, in Korea. I think she pledged in the Korea alumni chapter, and um, she ended up getting in Dodea, and she messaged me right when I was going through all that stuff with the divorce and all of that. And she asked me, and I have asked the Lord to forgive me numerous times for this. She messaged me and was like, "Hey, I got to talk to you about something pertaining to Delta. When you get a chance, give me a call or message me." And I never did because I had so much stuff going on. Well, praise God. When we went to Bahrain this year, a couple of months ago, or actually a couple of weeks ago, for basketball, she saw that I was there, and we end up running into each other at this restaurant. And she was like, we talked briefly at the restaurant, but I end up having to leave to go back to the school where the girls were, where the basketball girls were. And so she was like, "How long are y'all here for?" Blah blah. We ended up meeting. I told her to meet me at the mall because that was the last day we were there. We were going to the mall, so we ended up meeting at the mall. We sat down and talked, and she was like, "Yeah, I reached out to you," and she was like, "I wanted to talk to you because I've been seriously considering denouncing," and my mouth dropped. And she was like, "Ever since you posted that video way back then," she's like, "your video convicted me, but I was still like." Well, there's things Christian like about it. And she said, but it just did not sit right with me. So she went through her own little journey. She left Korea and then went to, I think that's when she went to Bahrain. Or she went somewhere else. I don't know. I can't remember. But she said that through the course of her moving these different places, she went to, they have what is called a sisterhood retreat, and she went to this particular sisterhood retreat, and she was like, I don't know what it was. She was like, but I had paid for it and everything, and I didn't even want to go. She said it was so bad that I was willing to give my ticket to the retreat to somebody else. She's like, I just did not want to go. And she said that, but I went ahead and went. And she said, when I got there, my spirit was just so grieved. And I sat and listened. Because when they have these, when they have clusters, when they have nationals, when they have all these different things in these different cities, it's fun, but they also have meetings. They also have, and they talk about rituals. They go through the ritual. And she was like, and I sat there at that sisterhood retreat at one of the meetings, and she's like, I was just listening to what they were saying in the prayer and in the hymn. They have actual hymns,
Yeah.
Delta hymns. And she said, I sat there and listened to what they were saying, and I just could not believe. Like she says, like I had brand new ears for what was being said. She's like, when you take over a line, when we have a meeting, we say all these things, but it's like it goes over your head because you're so used to hearing it. She said, but I sat in that meeting and had brand new ears, and I was just appalled by what I was hearing. And she said, I left that sisterhood retreat like, oh yeah, I got to get out. And she said, so when I reached out to you, I was wanting to talk to you like, how do I do it? How do I go about the process of denouncing this, that, and the third? And she said, and then when I didn't hear from you, I reached out to another Delta I know who was doing the same thing. And she was like, she didn't get back to me either. And she said, and I love this about her, and I know it was nobody but God. She said, I said, well, I guess, Lord, you just want me to do it by myself. And I said, that's exactly what he wanted you to do, Keisha. I said, but forgive me because I should have responded, because sometimes we do need that extra push. I said, but God wanted you to know that you can do anything, because it was tough for you just like it was tough for me. And that's one of the things I used to tell my ex-line sisters. I said, y'all know, y'all used to call me Super Delta. Y'all know how bad I wanted to be a Delta. Y'all know how much I loved being a Delta. So I don't understand how you can't see, okay, something got to be to this, because her of all people want to come out, like that's crazy. But I told her, I
Yeah.
said, God wanted you to depend solely on him, because it's a battle that you're going to have to go through. Yes, we all need community. Yes, we all need that shoulder to lean on. But when it all boils down to it, we don't have nobody but God. And I told her, so she was like, yeah, I understand. I see that now. But so I said all that to say, like, those that are have come out but not said anything, please share your testimony. You never know what you might say that piques someone's interest, to be like, oh, well, let me go look at this. To those that are still in it and, like, grappling with whether or not they should get out, I tell this I told this to my ex-line sisters that I did talk to, and my friend and that I met in Naples. All I can say to you is pray and ask God, go on a fast and pray and ask God to show you, to remove the scales from your eyes and show you what is not pleasing to him about the organization, but especially about the ritual. And if and when you do that and you're sincere, God will show you, because that's what I did.
Yeah.
And he will show you. And now I feel like now, you know, we're coming upon a time that is like, it feel like it's an explosion of people seeking the Lord. Um and so now of all times, because God is revealing so many things to people that who were blind to it at first, I feel like if you truly seek God about it, he will show you.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe that he would show all these people how demonic it is and then just leave other people out in the cold if they're really seeking.
Yeah.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Ain't it? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I know that there's so much more that we could say. We might end up doing a part two of this one day, but
Okay.
there's so much more we could say. And you know, who knows? Maybe, you know, somebody out there listening might have some questions. We're gonna
Yeah.
encourage you to type your questions in the chat, drop them there. And if we need to do a part two, we will definitely do a part two, because we want to make sure that we're giving you guys what you need. But I want to say this. I want to say discernment often costs us belonging, right? When we have that discerning heart and that discerning spirit, it may shift us from where we thought we
Mhm.
were or thought we wanted to be, but it also restores alignment, peace, and integrity. So I just
Mhm.
want those that are maybe struggling with the
Amen.
decision of whether or not to stay, whether or not to go in their sorority. I hope that this
What
podcast
happened?
has helped you. Can you
It's
guys hear
okay.
me?
Yes.
Okay, I
Crystal
hope that
just
you
left the stage.
okay, I hope
Hello?
that you guys I hope
We
that
can
you guys
hear you.
ha-
We're sorry. You can't see
I
us.
can't hear you guys.
Oh, you can't.
can you see us?
Can you see us? Okay.
All right. It's okay, guys. We're at the end, and sometimes that
I can't hear
happens
you.
because you know
Okay.
that technical difficulties happen, right? But anyway, I just hope that if anybody was touched by this, I hope that you guys reach out, and I hope that you guys allow the Lord to lead, to guide, and protect you. So we thank you for tuning in, and remember, stay anchored in God, led by love, and sustained in virtue. We love you guys, and we hope you have an amazing night.
Good night.
She's been through storms, she's walked through fire, still moves with strength, not loud but higher. No spotlight needed, no grand applause. She stands for truth, she knows her cause, and she's not perfect, but she's real and sure. A woman of virtue who will endure.